Hello everyone, it's Tutor Fortune here. Okay, so in this video, we are going to continue with our theory sheet 1, biology. Okay, so we are going to part B. We did our part A, and then the solutions were uploaded on the website. So just subscribe, should be able to find the solutions on the website. Okay, so now let's do our part B, and we start with question 13 there. Then question 13 saying define the following terms. Okay. Then we have the first part. Okay. So we have to define what mitosis is. Okay. So what is mitosis? So mitosis is simply the process of cell division in which you have one parent cell which is going to divide to produce two identical cells. Okay. And we know that these identical cells will have the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Okay, so we are saying mitosis is the process, okay, the process of cell division, okay, in which one parent cell, so one parent cell divides to produce two identical daughter cells. Okay, so two identical daughter cells. Okay, then we are saying these daughter cells. So we are saying each of these daughter cells. Okay, so each of these daughter cells will have the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Okay, so that's what we are having. That's what mitosis is. So you have this parent cell, which is going to divide to give you two identical cells. And then those two identical cells will have the same number of chromosomes as the parent cell. Okay, so that's what we are having. So we go to the second part, which is telling us to define what meiosis is. Okay, so we define mitosis. Now we go to meiosis. So what is meiosis? Okay, so let's go to part 2. So we are being asked to define meiosis. Okay, so meiosis is simply also the type of cell division in which you get 4 daughter cells. Okay, so the type of cell division where 2 daughter cells or 4 daughter cells. So we get 4 daughter cells. Okay, which will have half the number of chromosomes as that of the parent cell. Okay, so here, this type of division is a type of cell division which will happen mostly in gametes. Okay, so we can have the female gametes and the male gametes, which are the ovum and the sperm. Okay, so that's what we have. Okay, so in terms of my meiosis, the definition there is going to be the type of cell division that produces 4 daughter cells, and these 4 daughter cells each are having half the number of chromosomes as that of the parent cell. Okay, and this type of division is a type of division which will happen in the gametes. Okay, so that's what we are having. Okay, so we're saying meiosis is a type of cell division, okay, that produces okay 4 daughter cells. Okay, then we are saying each with the half the number of chromosomes, half the number of chromosomes of the parent cell. Okay, or the parent cell. Okay, and we are saying, and it will happen, in gametes. Okay, so that's what uh, meiosis is. Okay, so we've defined mitosis. We've also defined meiosis. Now we go to the third definition there, which is diploid. Okay, so what is a diploid cell? Okay, so a diploid cell, simply a cell that contains two complete set of chromosomes, as simple as such. Okay, so a diploid cell is going to be a cell that will have two completely sets of what? Of chromosomes. Okay, so we have part 3 there, saying a diploid cell. Diploid cell is a cell that contains two completely two complete sets of chromosomes. Okay, so it will have two complete set of chromosomes. Okay, and it will be donated by 2n. Okay, so that's what a diploid cell is. Okay, so one of the chromosome, half of the chromosome. Okay, so we have two sets. So half will be from one parent, and then the other half we have we'll get it from the other parent. So you end up having two sets of um, uh, chromosomes there. Okay, so that's what we are having. Okay, then we go to part 4 there, which we have to define a haploid cell. Okay, so we've defined a diploid cell. Now we have to define what a haploid cell is. Okay, so for a haploid cell, it's going to be a cell that contains only one set of chromosomes. Okay, so this one usually use letter N. So remember, for diploid, you use 2N. For haploid, we are going to use letter N. Okay, so and this will happen in gametes. So it's the one which will happen in gametes, okay, which are the eggs and sperms. Okay, so that's what we are having. So we are saying a haploid cell, a haploid cell, a haploid cell, okay, is a type of cell, that contain that contains only one set of chromosomes. Then we are saying it is usually donated by letter N, like that, and it will happen in what? In gametes. Okay, that's what a haploid cell is. Okay, so it will happen in gametes. Okay, so that's what we are having here. Okay, so we are done with question 13 there. Okay, so we can proceed to question 14, saying okay, so question 14 saying which of the following cells would be haploid and which ones will be diploid. Okay, so we have to identify which ones are haploid and which ones are diploid there. Okay, so we start with the first one. So it's saying for white blood cells. Okay, so we have white blood cells. So are they haploid or diploid? Okay, so remember, for somatic cells, okay, so we have what we call somatic cells. These are going to be diploid cells. Okay, so white blood cells are example of somatic cell. Okay, so here we are going to find that these are going to be diploid cells. Okay, so for white blood cells, they're going to be diploid. Okay, okay. Then we go to the second one. Okay, which is male cell in pollen grain. Okay, so here we have a male cell in pollen grain. So male cell in pollen grain. So for part 2, that one, okay, it's a type of a cell which will divide by meiosis. Remember, for pollen grain, this one it will undergo what we call meiosis. The first one will undergo what we call mitosis for white blood cell. Okay, so this one is going to be meiosis. Okay, so for meiosis, you will know that these are going to be haploid cell. Okay, so this is going to be haploid. So for part two, it's going to be haploid. Okay, so here we are saying the first one was diploid. Okay, then the second one is going to be haploid. Then we have guide cell there. Okay, so for guide cell, okay, so you know these are part of the plant. Okay, so these ones, you don't find gametes there. Okay, so you are going to, they are divided by mitosis. Okay, so we end up having a diploid cell there. Okay, so these are going to be diploid. Okay, so number three is going to be diploid. Okay, then we have the root hair cell, just like the gut cell. It's also part of the plant cell, which is involved for absorption. Okay, so this one is also going to be a diploid. Okay. Then we have the skin cells. Okay. So for the skin cells, they are also somatic cells, these ones. So they will undergo what we call mitosis. Okay. So they are diploid cells as well. Okay. Then for a sperm, this one is going to be, it's a gamete. You know, it's a gamete. Okay. So this one, it will undergo haploid. Okay. So it will be a haploid. Okay. And I didn't mention, same with the ovum. It's also a gamete, that one. So it's going to be haploid as well. Okay. So that's what we are having. Okay. So we can proceed to question number 15. Okay. Go to question number 15. So question number 15 is saying, define acrosymmetric chromosomes, metasymmetric chromosomes, and the tetrasymmetric chromosomes. Okay, so we start with the first one. We have to define what are symmetric chromosomes. Okay, so we have to define what acrocentric chromosomes are. Okay, so we have acrocentric chromosomes. Okay, so what is an acrocentric chromosomes? Okay, so this is a chromosome in which the centromere is located near one end and to result in one very long arm and one very short arm. Okay, so you have, this is a type of chromosomes where the centromere is going to be located near one end. Then you have one end which is going to have a very long arm, and the other end which is going to be have a very short arm. That's what a acrocentric chromosome is going to look like, is going to be. Okay, so we are saying is a type of a chromosome in which the centromere is located near one end, resulting in one very long, so you say one very long arm and one very short arm. Okay, so one very short arm. That's what acrocentric chromosomes are going to be. Okay, now we go to the second part, okay, which is metacentric chromosome. Okay, so what is a metacentric chromosome? Okay, so let's define a metacentric chromosome. So for, okay, metacentric intercentric chromosome, the type of chromosome. Okay, so we have intercentric chromosome. Okay, so this is a type of chromosomes in which a chromosome in which the centromere is located at the middle. Okay, so then you are going to have two arms, okay, which are almost equal to each other. Okay, so remember the first one we had two arms. One was very long, the other one was short for acrocentric. Then for metacentric, you are going to have the chromosomes which are going to be are located near the middle, near the center. Then you are going to have the arms, the two arms, which are going to be almost the same. Okay, so we are saying a metrocentric chromosome is a chromosome, in which the centromere is located at the middle, okay. Then you have two arms which are approximately approximately equal in length. Okay, that's what a metrocentric chromosome is going to be. Okay, let's do the last part, which is the heterocentric chromosome. Okay, so let's get the heterocentric chromosome. What is a heterocentric chromosome? Okay, so we have heterocentric chromosome. Okay, so heterocentric chromosome is a chromosome in which the centromere is located at the very end of the chromosome, so it appears to have only one arm. Okay, so that's what we have it. So you have the centromere, which is going to be located towards the end, the very end of your chromosomes, so that it will appear that it will only have one arm. Okay, so that's what we have it. Okay, so we are saying heterocentric chromosome is a chromosome in which the centromere is located at the very end of the chromosome, so it appears to have only one arm. Okay, so only one arm. That's what heterocentric chromosome is going to be. Okay, so we are done with part 15 there. We go to question number 16, which is saying describe the structural composition of the chromosome. Okay, so we need to define some of the things that we are going to find in a chromosome. Okay, so what do we expect a chromosome should have? Okay, so what is the composition of a chromosome? Okay, so the first thing that you need to know is that a chromosome is going to be made up of the genetic material, okay, which is DNA, okay, and also you are going to find proteins. Okay, so we are going to have DNA and proteins in a chromosome. Okay, so these are our genetic material. Okay, so you know that DNA is the one which will carry our genetic information, which are genes. Okay, so DNA will carry our genetic information, which are genes. Okay, then these DNA, you are going to find that they are going to be packed in what we call histones. Okay, so these histones are proteins. Okay, so DNA is going to be packed in what we call histones, which are proteins. Okay, so that's what we're having. Okay, so this DNA, you find that they are going to be coded and packed properly in what we call the histone. Okay, then you are also going to find what we call chromatin Okay, so for the chromatins, these are going to be tether-coiled and condensed to form what we call the chromosomes, this one. Okay, so that's what we have it. So it also have, apart from the DNA and proteins, you are going to find something which is going to be coiled and condensed to form these chromosomes, which are called in a chromatid. Okay, so that's what we are having. Okay, okay. Apart from that, you are going to find that these chromosomes are going to have two sister chromatids. Okay, so you also find what we call two sister chromatids in them. Okay, so two sister chromatids. Okay, so these sister chromatids are going to be identical, okay, and they will be joined together. Okay, so that's what you have. So you have DNA, you have chromatin, then you are going to have two sister chromatin. You're also going to find what we call a centromere. Okay, in the chromosome, you're going to find a centromere. So this centromere is the one which holds the sister chromatids together. Okay, so the function of the centromere is the one which holds the sister chromatids together. Okay, and then you're going to find that at this centromere, that's where the spindle fibers are going to attach during cell division. That's what we have it. Okay, chromosome also have arms. Okay, so you can have a short arm and also a long arm. Okay, depending on the type of chromosomes, according to what we've done on the first part. Okay, so we made mention that acrocentric chromosomes, they are going to have a very long arm and a very short arm. Then metacentric chromosomes are going to have arms which are equal in length. Then you are going to have telecentric chromosomes which will appear to have only one arm. Okay, so you are also going to find arms in the chromosome. Okay, so that's what you have in there. Okay, the other part of the chromosomes which you are going to find is what we call the telomere. Okay, so telomeres, you're going to find them the chromosomes at the end of each chromosomes. Okay, so these are the ones which offer protection to your chromosomes. Okay, so these are the ones which uh, offer protections. They are there to protect your chromosomes from damage. Okay, so these are the ones for protections there. Okay, so that's what a chromosome will be composed of. Okay, so this is the composition of your chromosome. So you have DNA and proteins, which are histones. Okay, you are going to have chromatin. You're going to have two sister chromatids. You're going to have centromere. You're going to have arms and telomeres there. Okay, so we can go to question number 17 there. We've done question number 16. Okay, let me just zoom it. Okay. Okay, so we can go to question number 17, which is saying draw a labeled structure of the chromosome. Okay, so this is the structure of the chromosome. Like we've mentioned, it will have parts. You can see the telomere there towards the end of each chromosome. In yellow there, these are telomeres. They are there to protect your chromosome against damage. Okay, you are going to have arms depending on the type of chromosome. So here you have the short arm. You can see here you have the long arm. Okay, you're also going to have sister chromatid there and the centromere. So this is the structure, the general structure of a chromosome. Okay, so we are done with question number 17 there. Okay, we go to question number 18, saying state the significance of mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so what is the significance of mitosis and meiosis? Let's start with the mitosis. What is the importance of mitosis? Okay, so one of the importance is to enable growth by increasing the number of cells in organism. Okay, so enables growth by increasing the number of cells, cells in an organism. That's one of the function of meiosis, the significance of your meiosis there. Okay, it also helps in repair. Okay, repair and replacement. Okay, so it helps in repair and replacement. Okay, so that's the other function of your okay, that's the other function. Okay, so we are saying this mitosis is also important for repair and replacement. Okay, so you can have damaged cells. Okay, you can have damaged cells which are supposed to be replaced. Okay, so through mitosis, that's where we get new cells. Okay, then when other cells are out, we are able to replace them with new cells through mitosis. Okay, it also enables stability. Okay, so it uh, ensures that there is stability or genetic stability. It offers genetic stability, okay, by producing daughter cells, okay, and then we know that these daughter cells are going to be identical to the parent cells, okay, so they offer genetic stability. That's what mitosis is going to do. Okay, the other thing, you know that this mitosis is going to happen in asexual reproduction. So it allows asexual reproduction. Okay. So if you have an organism which undergo asexual reproduction to be through mitosis. Okay. So these are some of the importance of the significance of your mitosis there. Okay. Let's go to meiosis. What's the importance of meiosis? Okay. Okay. So we go to meiosis. Why is it important? Okay, so if we talk about the significance of meiosis, you know that this is where gametes are going to be produced. Okay, so production of gametes. Okay, production of gametes, which are sex cells. Okay, the sex cells are, you know, the ovum and the sperm. Okay, so these gametes are going to have half the number of chromosomes. They are haploid cells. Okay, then the other significance of meiosis going to be maintenance of a constant chromosome number. Okay, from one generation to the next one after your fertilization. That's the other importance of your meiosis. Okay, so maintenance of constant number of chromosomes. Okay, so maintenance of constant number of chromosomes. Okay, from one generation to the next one, to the next one, okay, after fertilization. Okay, so that's the other importance of meiosis. Okay, the other importance for meiosis, it also creates genetic variation through crossing over. You know that during meiosis, crossover happens. Okay, so because of that crossover, it will create genetic variation. Okay, so because of crossover and also independent assortment, so that will cause genetic variation. Okay, so we are saying it creates genetic variation. Okay, through crossover and independent assortment. Okay, so that's the importance of meiosis. Okay, so we are done with part 18 there. Okay, so we can go to question number 19. Okay, go to question number 19. I saying describe the main stages of the cell cycle. Okay, so you know that the cell cycle made up of three phases. Okay, so we have three stages, which are going to be the first one is going to be interphase. Okay, so these are the three parts. So you are going to have interphase. So in interphase, you are going to find the three phases there. Okay, so you're going to have the G1 phase, you're going to have the S phase, you're also going to have the G2 phase. Okay, so these are the phases of the interphase. Okay, that's the first part of our cell cycle. Then from the first part, we go to the second part, which is going to be mitosis. And you know what mitosis is going to be composed of. Okay, so mitosis is going to be composed of the prophase. So you have prophase, you're going to have metaphase, you're going to have anaphase, you're going to have telophase. Okay, then the last part, the third part for your cell cycle is going to be cytokinesis. Cytokinesis. Okay, then the cell will go to your your G0 there. Okay, which is the resting phase. Okay, so this is the resting phase. So these are the stages of the cell cycle. Okay, so now in G1, what happens in G1? Here there is this is also known as the growth phase, where the cell grows will start growing in size, and also you have production of proteins, and also where some of the metabolic activities are going to happen. That's where in the GS. Then in the G1, okay. Then in the S phase, you know, that's where protein synthesis is going to happen. Okay. So here there is DNA replication. Okay, so here in the S phase, that's where the synthesis phase is going to happen. So you have DNA replication, which is going to happen in the S phase. So here is DNA replication. Okay, so for the first side, the first one we said there is cell growth. Okay, then here we have DNA replication, and then in the G2 phase, that's where the second growth is going to happen. Okay, so here you have the cell preparing itself to undergo mitosis or cell division, isn't it? Okay, so you have cell preparation here so that it undergoes mitosis or cell division. That's what we are having. Okay, so in mitosis, you are going to have prophase, where you are going to find that chromosomes are going to condense, then they are going to become visible, the nuclear membrane will break down, then you have spindle fibers which are going to be formed in the prophase. In the metaphase, you are going to find that the chromosomes are going to align at the center, okay, of the cell. Then you have anaphase, where you are going to find that the chromosomes are going to separate and they are going to move to the opposite poles. Then in the telophase, you are going to see that here the chromatids will reach the pole and the nuclear membrane form around the what? Around the chromatids. Okay, so that's what you are going to have. Okay, then you end up having cytokinesis, where the cytoplasm will divide there, and the two daughter cells will separate. That's what you're having. Then the cell also undergo the resting phase. Okay, so that's what you're having. These are the processes of this is the entire cell cycle. Okay, so if we are to show this cell cycle, how it's going to look like. Okay, so let's try to go through. Okay, so you're going to find that it's a cycle, so it will look like this. Okay, okay. So it will look like this. Okay, so you start from your G0, so you're going to have your G0 there. Okay, from the G0, you're going to have the interphase. Interphase is the longest phase. Okay, so this is going to be the interphase. Okay, so this is going to be the interphase. Okay, so in the interphase, you're going to find three phases. You have the G1, then you have the S phase, then you are going to have the G2. Okay, from there, you're going to have the M phase. Okay, this is the mitosis phase. Okay, where the cell will divide. And here, you're going to have prophase, you're going to have metaphase. Okay, okay, so you have prophase, you're going to have metaphase, you're going to have anaphase, then you are going to have telophase. Okay, then from there, the cell will undergo cytokinesis. Okay, so this is the cell cycle, and we've discussed what happens here. So here we are saying there's the growth of the cell. Okay, so we are saying there's growth of the cell. Okay, then we have where the cell will increase in size. We also have where metabolic activities are going to happen. So we have metabolic activities. Metabolic activities are going to happen in this phase. Okay, the cell will increase in size. So we have increase in size of the cell. And also, we are going to find that proteins are going to be produced. Okay, production of proteins there. Okay, then you are going to have the S phase. Okay, so in the S phase, that's where we have DNA replication. Okay, that's where we have DNA replication. Then you have the G2 there. In the G2, that's the second cell growth, where you're going to find that the cell will start preparing itself. Okay, so cell preparation is going to happen here. Okay, so the cell will start preparing itself to undergo a cell division. That's what we have. And then we are going to have prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then you have cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is where you're going to see the cytoplasm, which is going to divide, and also the two daughter cells are going to separate. That's what you have in there. This is the cell cycle. Okay. We got question number 20. Okay. So question number 20 saying describe the three stages of interphase. We've already described them. We have the G1, the S. So the three okay. So the three stages of interphase. We have the G1, we have the S phase, and the G2. Okay, those are the three stages of interphase. Okay, so we have the G1, you have the G2, the S phase. Okay, so you have the G1 phase, you have the S phase, and then you have the G2 phase. Okay, so these are the three phases in order. So this is going to be the first one, this is going to be the second one, the last one is going to be this one. Okay, so we know what happens in the G1 for by now. Okay, so we are saying the G1, that's where you're going to see metabolic activities happening. Okay, metabolic activities. Then we are going to see a growth in length of the cell or size. Say growth in size of the cell. Okay, then we are also going to see production of proteins. Production of proteins. Okay, that's in the G1. Then in the S phase, we are DNA replication going to happen in the S phase. Okay, we have DNA replication. Then in the G2 phase, that's where the cell will prepare itself, okay, for cell division, okay, to undergo cell division. So the cell will prepare itself to undergo cell division. Okay, that's what you have in there. Okay, so that's those are the three stages of your interphase. Okay, so we've done that part. We can go to, okay, so we can go to question number 21. Okay, so question number 21 is saying illustrate the process of mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so we have to describe the process of mitosis and meiosis. I think for mitosis, I've already mentioned some of the stages which are going to happen in mitosis. Okay, so this is a type of cell division which is going to happen in somatic cells. Okay, where you are going to have two identical daughter cells are going to be produced from a parent cell, and these identical daughter cells are going to have the same number of chromosomes as that of the parent cell. And then we are saying the stages which are going to happen in mitosis, you are going to have the prophase, where you are going to see the cell, the chromatin is going to condense, and then you are going to have visible chromosomes. Okay, then we are also going to see the nuclear membrane, which is going to break down, and the spindle fibers are going to form. Okay, so for our prophase, that's the first phase. So we are saying we are going to see chromatin. The chromatin are going to condense. So they are going to condense. They're going to be visible. Okay, so you're going to have visible chromosomes there. Okay, then you are also going to see the nuclear membrane breaks down. So the nuclear membrane will disappear. So the nuclear membrane will break down. Then you're also going to see spindle fibers, which are going to start forming there. Okay, spindle fibers begins to form there. Okay, that's what you're going to have in prophase. Okay, so from prophase, the next stage is going to be uh, metaphase. Okay, so you're going to have metaphase. Okay, so metaphase, that's where you're going to see you're going to have your chromosomes, which are going to align at the equator. So chromosomes align, okay, at the equator, okay, or at the center. Okay, then you're going to find the spindle fibers are also going to attach to the centromere. So spindle fibers attach to the centromere. Okay, that's what we are going to have. Okay, then from metaphase, you're going to go to the third stage, which is going to be anaphase. So anaphase, you're going to have anaphase. So anaphase, that's where you're going to see the sister chromatids, which are going to separate. Sister chromatids separate. Chromatids separate. And move to the opposite pose. To the opposite pose. That's what we are going to have there. So the sister chromatid will separate and move to the opposite pose. Okay. Then you are going to have the last stage for mitosis, which is going to be a telophase. Okay. So you're going to have telophase. Okay. So for telophase, you're going to see the chromatids which are going to be at the pose. So the chromatids reach at the pose. Okay. You're also going to see the nuclear membrane, which breaks down in the prophase is going to deform there. So there's nuclear. Okay. So nuclear membrane is going to deform. Okay. Okay. Apart from that, you're going to see the chromosomes which are going to uncoil. So chromosomes will uncoil. So that's what my mitosis is going to be composed of. So those are the stages for mitosis. Then the cell will undergo what we call cytokinesis. So for mitosis, in cytokinesis, you're going to see the cytoplasm. So you have cytokinesis. Here, the cytoplasm will divide. Okay, so the cytoplasm will divide. Then you are going to have two identical cells. Which are going to form. Okay. Then these two identical cells, you know that they have they are diploid cells. So they are 2N. Okay. So that's what you are having there. Okay. So that's meiosis. Okay. So for mitosis, you're going to have two. That was meiosis. Now we go to okay. So that was mitosis. We go to meiosis. So for meiosis, you're going to have these phases were going to happen to two phases. Okay. So in meiosis, you notice that okay, the number of cells are going to be reducing. Unlike in mitosis where we had the number of cells which are going were increasing. Okay, so here the number of cells increases. Meiosis, you're going to see the number of cells are going to be reducing. Okay, so this is going to happen in two phases, two parts. Okay, so you're going to have meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. For meiosis 1, you're going to have same stages. You're going to have prophase 1, where you're going to see homologous chromosomes pairing. So there's pairing of homologous chromosomes, which is called the synapsis. Okay, that is in prophase 1. Okay, you're also going to see crossover in prophase 1 of your meiosis division. Okay, then you are going to have metaphase 1. Okay, so metaphase 1, where you're going to see your homologous chromosome lining up at the equator. Okay, so homologous chromosomes line up at the equator. Okay, at the center of the cell. Then you're going to have anaphase 1. Okay, so anaphase 1, you're going to see homologous chromosomes are going to separate. Then you end up having sister chromatids which are going to remain attached. Okay, that's what we have in anaphase 1. So homologous chromosomes are going to separate there. Then the sister chromatids will remain attached. Okay, then you are going to have the fourth phase, which is going to be the telophase 1. Okay, so this is telophase 1. In telophase 1, you are going to see for telophase, for meiosis, telophase 1, it usually happens in some animals, but doesn't happen in some of the animals. Okay, so this one, we can say that for telophase, that's where you're going to see that you're going to have those the sister chromatids, which are also the uncoiling of sister chromatids and other stuffs. But it's not going to happen in in some animals, most of the animals. So here, from here, you can go straight from my anaphase 1, you can go straight to cytokinesis, where two haploid cells. So you're going to have two haploid cells which are going to be formed. Okay, so two haploid cells are going to be formed. Okay, so now we have two haploid cells. With those two haploid cells, you are going to undergo meiosis 2. So for meiosis 2, similar with the mitosis. So for meiosis, whatever is happening in mitosis is what is going to happen in meiosis. Okay, so we are going to have prophase 2. Okay, so where we are going to have the chromosomes which are going to condense and spindle fibers forming there. That's prophase 2, and that's what happened in mitosis. Okay, so whatever was happening in mitosis is going to happen in meiosis 2. Okay, you're also going to have metaphase 2, where the chromosomes are going to align at the equator. You're going to have anaphase 2. Okay, so anaphase 2, where you are going to see the sister chromatids are going to separate, and we are also going to have telophase 2. Okay, where we are also going to have cytokinesis. We also undergo cytokinesis here, where you find 4 identical haploid cells are going to be produced here. Okay, let's see for meiosis. Okay, so now we go to part 22. Okay, so go to part 22. Okay, so go to part 22 there. It's saying describe the cytokinesis in plants and in animals. Okay, so we have to describe a cytokinesis in plants and also cytokinesis in animals. Okay. Okay. So okay. So let's do that. Okay. So for this one, I think I'll end on question 21. Then the other parts, okay, these remaining parts, I'll make the solutions and upload them on the website. So for today, we'll end here. So you simply subscribe with us, then you should be able to get the remaining solutions for these parts, and also part 1 on cell theory and other topics. Okay, so they are there on the website. So you subscribe, you should be able to get the solutions for whatever is meant there. Okay, thank you so much for watching.